This is the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we teach you the proven methods to grow your seven-figure business to 10 million and beyond. Please welcome your host, Brett Gilliland.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast. Every week, we bring a special guest to help us in our seven-figure growth journey. Today, I'm excited to introduce a guest that I've known now for a couple years, I want to say, maybe 3 years. Her name is Diana White, and we're going to start with where she is now, and then maybe we'll get through some of the other things that she's done in her amazing career. Diana is the Executive Director of the Moonshot at NACET Flagstaff Campus. And that's a little bit of a mouthful for me. We'll talk about what that is here in a minute. But she, in addition to doing all this executive director work for this really cool organization, she spends time serving on many boards, including the Boys and Girls Club, Habitat for Humanity, lots of things like that, where she just is one of those people who has more energy than I've ever seen in most people. And she gets involved, and she serves, and she helps, and she lifts. And every time I interact with her, my energy level goes up, and a smile comes to my face. So, Diana, thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here with everybody.
So tell us a little bit about Moonshot at NACET, the Flagstaff campus, because I know there's a little bit of there's a lot of cool that goes on there, but there's a little bit of explanation for people to go, what is this NACET thing?
So NACET, and I'll give you the acronym so that you guys understand. NACET stands for Northern Arizona Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology. And several years ago, our president and CEO, Scott Hathcock, came aboard, and he said, hey, we need a little bit of a rebranding. And if our listeners or viewers don't know, Flagstaff, Arizona really has a lot of ties with the Apollo mission and the astronauts training. We also have Lowell Observatory, which is huge, and the Shoemakers, which was a couple that discovered many things and gave a lot to planetary science. It all kind of tied in. And so we became Moonshot at NACET. And our founders that join our organization are our pioneers. They're our cowboy astronauts or cowgirl astronauts that are going into a frontier that is unknown. And we have a relationship with the city of Flagstaff that has withstood the test of time. It's going on 22 years. And we are funded by the EDA. We have lab space, office space on campus. If you want to be on campus, you have to be approved by the city. And there are about maybe 5 industries that fit into that category to be approved. Other than that, you can be an affiliate, which means that you're not on campus, you don't have office space, but you can pay a yearly fee per company and take part in our curriculum, our events, our mentors, counseling and coaching with me and other strong business acumen people. And our goal is to take someone from ideation to MVP to market to scale. But within that goal, and it's one of the reasons why, Brett, I love what Elite Entrepreneurs does so much, is within that goal is we're always trying to teach these founders, whether you're a company of 1 or a company of 100, how to be servant leaders and how to make sure that you have a company that has a culture that is sustainable and cultivates ideation and growth. That's all we really, really want to do.
All right. Well, that is fantastic. And most of our listeners come from all over the country and even other parts of the world. But if you happen to be lucky enough to live in Northern Arizona, especially around Flagstaff, you got to stop in at the Moonshot at NACET Flagstaff campus and get to know Diana and the rest of the team there. Absolutely wonderful people doing amazing things to lift the local business community higher, wherever they're at. So it is a little bit of a mouthful to say NACET, Moonshot at NACET, but what we know is its awesomeness bottled up, helping entrepreneurs, helping the technology community there in Flagstaff flourish. And we're thrilled to have you here. Now, Diana, you don't have just the distinction of being the executive director there. You've had a long career of lots of experience in retail and sales, leading retail sales forces. If I'm not mistaken, at least one of the stores that you led had 200 plus employees, if I got that right. Now, most of our listeners aren't in that range of 200 plus employees, but I just say that because Diana's been there, done that. When it comes to leadership, when it comes to industries where there might be high turnover of, maybe teenagers, lower wage employee types. I mean, all the way to salespeople who are making good money, but it's not easy to do what you've done for as long as you have, and you bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to that role there at Moonshot at NACET. So let's get past all that now, and let's talk about what we're here to talk about today. So Diana, a few weeks back, you told me about a wonderful process, I'll call it, a wonderful thing that you did as part of your changing over into the new year, as you're reflecting on, as you're preparing for, as you're working on your intention for 2023, you did something that I immediately said, I want to share that with our podcast audience. And so I appreciate you being willing to come and share. Why don't you set this up for us? Where were you? What were you doing before we get into the details of the clarity that you were getting?
Yeah, so let me preface by saying I am one of those people that I love to make New Year's resolutions, knowing deep down inside by January 5th, it's just done. It's not going to happen, right? And so my daughter and I, we've adopted a different stance on the holidays and what it means to us. The holidays really means for us that we're together. And it doesn't matter where we are. And so we do destination holidays. So this Christmas, we went to Jamaica, and I unplugged completely. I didn't bring any electronics with me. I did bring a pen and paper. And this year's goal for 2023, I decided, let's do something different. Let's not do the same old New Year's resolution that I know deep down inside, because it has been routine and now it's ingrained in me, that I'm going to break it. So I decided to bring a pen and paper with me, and I sat on the beach. And I know that not everybody is fortunate enough to be able to take holiday trips. And sometimes it's not even a monetary factor. Sometimes it's you have so many close family with you that leaving them and going to a destination makes you feel guilty and you can't enjoy the holiday. You have to do your tradition. And I understand that, but I broke tradition a long time ago. But I sat on the beach in Jamaica and I wrote out every single thing that I committed myself to for 2023. And Brett, my calendar kind of stays pretty full. And I do have a lot of causes that I believe in. And I think everything shouldn't come from work. You should have fulfillment in all aspects of your life. And so there were 3 buckets. After I made my list, I said to myself, as I look at these line items that I committed myself to, if it didn't feed my soul, fill my bag, which is slang for bring in money, feed my soul, fill my bag, or build my brand, I'm going to say no, as much as it hurts, because you get to a point, and I'm a bit of a people pleaser. And so it does hurt when I say no, but it had 2023 for me I felt like it had to be intentional and pivotal. So that's what I did. And
okay, I got to interrupt you right there. So
yes,
you did something that I just want to underscore, and I'm going to repeat basically what you said. It doesn't have to be on a beach in Jamaica.
Nope. No.
Whatever it looks like, the important thing is that you got by yourself and you eliminated distractions, and you were there with paper and pencil, right? Paper and pencil, paper and pen, whatever, and yourself, your thoughts. That's it. You happen to be in some beautiful surroundings, which I highly recommend, but it doesn't have to be hours away on a flight. It could be in your backyard. It could be at a park nearby, at the public library, wherever you can find a little time and space to be alone with your thoughts and some way to capture that. And that old technology we call paper is a beautiful thing, right? Just with your thoughts.
Peaceful surroundings. Peaceful surroundings means something different to everyone. For me, it was a sunny beach. For someone else, it could be a ski lodge, a ski slope, looking at the snow. For somebody else, it could be, the one place in their house where nobody knows they're supposed to go, but they still have view of the Christmas tree lights, right? It doesn't matter where it is, as long as you know that your mind and your soul is at peace. And Brett, I'm going to drive that point home of, if you're going to do this exercise, no electronics. No electronics, good old-fashioned pen or pencil and paper. I think if I know for myself, I can't say for anyone else, if I would have said, I'm going to bring my laptop and I'm going to structure it out and I'm going to use apps and I'm going to use all of these different things to really structure what I have going on, then it would have turned into a work project. And then I would have gone into my email and then I would have gone into my calendar. I really needed to unplug and just be with myself, my thoughts, and that pen and paper.
Yes, wonderful, beautiful. I didn't want people to hear, oh yeah, someday I'm going to invest in that perfect trip where I go and I get clarity. It's like, no, we know, Diana knows, I know who we're talking to.
Yeah.
And the world is swirling around you and you're busy and you don't have to wait till Christmas time or the holiday season in 2023 to do this, but you need to make it a priority to get clear with yourself. And I love that you did that, Diana. That's exactly, I think we could just end it right here. And there would be lots of value for those who would hear it, for those who would take that and use it. Extremely helpful. Now, I do want to get to your 3 buckets some more. You already shared them with us. And these aren't prescriptive, right? But for you, these were the 3 buckets. And for the rest of us, maybe there are different 3 buckets, but it's not 12 buckets and it's not 5 buckets, right? It's a relatively few. So why don't you speak to that? Because you have a servant's heart. I mean, even from the introduction, people can get that and they sense that from you. You want to say yes, you want to help, you want to serve, and you do a lot. So this year, it sounds like you're saying, I still am that, but I'm getting more clear about where to channel those energies. So talk about narrowing down to just 3 buckets.
I'd love to do that. So, and I also want to make clear that I feel like those 3 buckets, they really do boil down everything you can think of. So if you have someone else that's saying, I don't want a bucket of X like Diana has. I need work-life balance. I have been away from my family too long trying to build this business, and I need to bring family back into it. I dare say that is still the feed my soul bucket. That is the soul bucket. And so don't try to complicate it too much by changing up the buckets so they fit exactly what you think that you're pinpointing. Boil it down to the essence. And the essence is what gets you up in the morning, what feeds your soul, what makes you happy, and what makes you feel like you are of service. What puts money in the bank, because we all need to survive. And you, whether it's your organization or whether it is you personally, everybody has a stamp or brand that they're trying to build, a fingerprint that they're putting on the world, right? We see that with social media and engagement in social media. We see that if you have your own websites, if you're writing a book, if you're building a company and all eyes on you because you are the founder, that's part of branding. So I really feel like those 3 buckets kind of cover a lot of things. But if you want to change it, you can.
Okay, yeah, I guess I may have jumped to conclusions there when I said, it's not the prescriptive list, do whatever you feel like, but you're actually saying this is a good list of bucket categories for people who want to adopt something like this. So I may have jumped the gun when I said that this isn't prescriptive, that they could come up with their own buckets, but you're actually saying just about any bucket category that they could come up with would fit nicely in these three areas that you've outlined.
But I know for me that it would have muddied the waters.
Okay, so I may have jumped the gun when I said this isn't a prescribed set of buckets, because it sounds to me like maybe there's some room for personalization, but you feel like those are the three buckets that most people's stuff would fit into.
I agree. I think that if we try to personalize it a little bit more, then we're in our heads and we're trying to figure out, well, which buckets are more important? What is this more important than that? And if you just say, okay, this bucket that I want to relabel, does it really fall into branding, feeding my soul, filling my bag? And then you don't have to worry so much about, did you forget something, and that kind of thing. And at least that worked for me. And of course, it's going to be different for everyone, but I would challenge you, kiss it. Keep it simple. I really would challenge you to do that.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. I love the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So at the time of recording this, which is different than when it actually will go live, but we're a couple months into the new year. I would love to have you share how have those three buckets become filters for you in evaluating opportunities or fielding requests, and how has that shaped your calendar, your inbox, or anything else, right? So talk to us about the practical now, the application of these filters.
Well, immediately upon returning from Jamaica, I had to make some tough phone calls and send some tough emails. Some of the things I extracted myself from completely, and that was heart-wrenching. Always leaving the door open. You know, if you want me for a quick this or that, I'm always there, but I can't commit in perpetuity, regularly. And then I feel like almost immediately, new things started popping up that was, you know, I used to look at my calendar, and as much of a giver as I am, and as much as a servant leader as I am, I'd look at my calendar and I go, oh, whew, today's going to be a day. I started looking at my calendar like, oh, I get to do this now. I couldn't do it last year because I was too busy, you know, and I feel like I had a shift in my energy, which then brought the things that I really wanted to participate in to me. And now I have the time to do it.
Wow. I don't know how we could say that like 10 different ways to sink in for all the people that are listening. Like, I think what you just said was through the power of the intention, the work that you did to get clear, that ended up shaping or drawing in the things that actually came to you, and so now your calendar is full of the things that you actually wanted to fill it with. Is that what you're saying it?
Yeah, and chicken or the egg, right? I don't know if because I shifted my mindset and it wasn't about me being as quote unquote busy as I could possibly be, but being intentional about my time, that now my antennas were focused on the things that brought me joy, fill my bag, build my brand. Whereas before it was just a wide fishnet that I casted out, hoping that the things that I pulled back in would fit those particular buckets. Mm-hmm. Now I got rid of all of the fish I didn't want to catch, and I'm focusing on the stuff I really want to do. And I think I really, really feel like that intention is bringing those things to me.
Yes. I can sense that even as you talk about it. I'm like, I can tell that that's happening for you. And it makes my heart hurt a little bit for what I'll call lovingly a bunch of unnecessary sufferers out there, right? Like, we go around with our days and our lives full of things and so chaotically busy, when if we could just slow down enough, just stop all that madness enough to get clear, we could lead with intention or by design, have our life take shape in a way that we actually want it to. And so that's why it's so powerful to me. When I heard you say it, I'm like, we got to share that message. It's so great.
I do know that when you're starting a business, I too have a consulting firm besides Moonshot at NACET, and I started that by myself from the ground up. And of course, when you're starting a business, there's a point in time where you just need to. So of course, when you're just starting a business, you have to be everywhere. You have to be seen. You have to engage. You have to go to these things you wouldn't ordinarily go to. And I get that. It is a part of building that brand. But you have to decide for yourself when you get to the point of, I've done enough exposure. Now I need to be intentional. And that point is different for everyone, you know? So it just happened to be for me, December of 2022.
Well, I love that distinction though. You're saying, hey, you sort of have to earn the right to get to the place where your dance card is full. Now your dance card is not just full, it's overflowing. You've done the thing where you've filled it up with all these worthwhile activities. Now it's time to cut it back to the ones that matter most.
Yes, absolutely. I can't stress enough. I see a lot of sages and gurus come out and they say these things like, you should X. And they don't acknowledge the fact that, hey, I'm not even at A. How can I get to X? I gotta go through the alphabet. And that is real. That's real for founders. And I understand it and I've gone through it. But you do get to a point where you're like, okay, now I get to choose and just choose wisely.
Yeah, well, and for the vast majority of folks tuning in on this episode, right, we cater our messages to people who have gotten their businesses off the ground. They're in that 7-figure territory. They're starting to hit some of those scaling challenges post-million in revenue. And I think by and large for those people, what you're sharing today is spot on. It's not like they're doing the scrappy, gritty founder, get it off the ground thing anymore. Now, doesn't mean they're still not grinding, but maybe it's time to be grinding less. Maybe there's more clarity. Maybe there's more focus. So I love that practice. Okay, Diana, anything else as far as the practical application, whether it's how it shows up in your calendar, how it changes the way you or an assistant review, what's in your inbox? What's the practical side of this day in and day out?
So the practical side, it's hard. It is. Sometimes I feel like the need to be a part of things is an addiction. And it's very, very hard to, I still get stuff that comes in my inbox and I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, I know I can't do it, just delete it. I have to read it. I have to check my calendar. I know I can't do it, but I'm still figuring out what could be. I would say a really good tip is, first of all, put every invite or every opportunity through that filter, through that 3-bucket filter. Create templates. I'm being very honest and serious. Create email templates in a Word document, quick sentences that you can send out to someone that has inquired. So you don't have to feel bad about typing that, I'm so sorry, I really can't. You just go copy and paste that template, keep it moving, right? Do things for yourself that makes it less heart-wrenching to give up that thing. And, and I also, I was a firm hater of Calendly or any kind of calendar app. I hated it. I just adopted it and I gave it to my team. And I said, instead of you guys coming to me with each and every opportunity, I've already told you where my focus is. Here's my Calendly link. If somebody wants to meet with me and they fit that criterion, go on my Calendly link, see when I'm available, just set it up. It'll just show up on my calendar and I'm not going to control it. I'm not going to think about it because I know I am attracting the kinds of meetings that I want to have.
And you've gotten clear with your team so that they're a line of defense or a filter. And over time, I guess you'll know which ones are getting it right and which ones aren't, right?
For sure.
You need to make some adjustments. But I love that. The templates you talked about, super practical. I have a really good friend. In fact, I think we've talked about him before. You and I have. We mentioned here on the podcast before. His name is Clayton Mask. He has this canned response to an invitation for lunch or coffee, right? Where it's like, hey, I'd love to go to lunch. I'd love to pick your brain. Can you meet me for coffee? And he just takes his canned template and it basically says something like, hey, would love to spend that time with you. I'm super focused on my priorities. I've had to choose what I can and can't engage in. Let's just pretend that we've had lunch together or that we've sat for coffee. We've had some small talk. What's the thing that you want to ask me, right? Like, just ask me. And if I can help you, I'll respond. And if I can't, I'll let you know, right? But yeah, that saves so much time and all of that pain of typing that again and revisiting I want to be the servant, but I can't.
It's so true. And I really want your listeners and viewers to understand that it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a snob. It doesn't make you antisocial. It gives you clarity. And it allows you to be the person that you should be for the people that are supposed to be in your life, instead of trying to be everything to everyone.
That's so powerful. It's not that you're a bad person. It's that you are now more able to be the person that the people who should be in your life need you to be. And I'm just trying to play that back because I'm like, yes, please record that forever in my brain and my heart. That is so good, Diana. Okay, wow. I don't even know how to quantify the amount of explosive impact that you've shared today. Explosive sound destructive. You know what I mean? Powerful, creative impact that you've shared, helping people get clear, using those filters to be who you want to be and attract what you want to be spending time on. Is there anything else you want to throw in as we wrap up this topic?
Yes, your senior leadership, whoever that may be in your organization, need to be on board and they need to respect it. And you really need to preface it in a way that they understand. Because I know many of the founders that are in that echelon that you speak of, that Elite Entrepreneurs deals with, they have a core team underneath them, whether it's, a right-hand person or a whole C-suite. And you've all gone through something together. And you've survived this and come out of the other side successful, right? And so in turn, they also may think, oh, you know what? He or she has changed their priorities, but I'm still going to have access to them the way I used to. And nothing's going to change for me. If it does change, if you are now saying, no, you don't have access to text me at 2:00 in the morning because you thought of a new idea for the company, you're going to have to wait. You need to make it clear in a very compassionate way that you are changing and they need to change with you so that there's no hard feelings within that core team. That's really important, that you don't just wake up one day and walk into the office and say, my 3 buckets, and you guys aren't a part of it. It's really important that you explain the why and trust in yourself that if they got the why the first time to go on that journey with you to build this company, they'll get that second why. And you can probably be an inspiration to them, because if you're overworked, they're probably overworked. So I wanted to just point that out, because sometimes doing that shift in your personality and what you're trying to attract, your leadership team may not get it, and they may see it as a challenge. They may see it as something negative instead of the positive that it should be.
Right. Like they might see it as somehow a takeaway or a letdown in your relationship, right? We're like, oh, Diana used to spend all the time with me that I wanted. And now it's like, it's only if it fits these buckets and it feels very impersonal or whatever, right? So, wow, that's a very interesting insight as you've worked to implement this. Super.
Say really quickly, my team, even though it's so fresh and new, it's still February, but my team and I'm lucky enough that I have a core team that we're just phenomenal together. But we joke, they'll come to me and they say, hey, Diana, I've got this thing. And I'll just say, okay, which bucket does it fill? And they have to say, oh, this will feed your soul. This will feed your soul. Listen, and I'm there. But if they can't tell me which bucket, and then I'll also ask, I said, is this for you? Because again, servant leadership never leaves me. And I know they have buckets to fill too. And so if it's one of their buckets, I want to know if I can be of service, right? But it's got to fill somebody's bucket.
Yeah. Okay, very, very good. Well, Diana, I'm just thrilled that we have this time together, and that you were able to share not just some powerful principles of getting clear and setting up the right processes and making sure that people understand, like all along the way, it was very, very practical, very, very helpful. But you did it in such a way that like you can just sit with you and be there and go, yeah, this is how it feels. This is how it works. So I really appreciate that. How can people connect with you on social? How can they learn more about Moonshot at NACET, if that's applicable? Where can they connect online?
Well, I only play in LinkedIn. That is my primary source of communication and seeing what's going on in the world.
Back to simplicity, right?
Simplicity. I'm on LinkedIn. Moonshot, moonshotaz.com is where you can find Moonshot at NACET. And if you want to know more about us and you happen to be in the Flagstaff area, we'd love to give you a tour. So reach out, inquire. You can sign up for our mailing list and check out events. And I would be remiss if I didn't plug my podcast. So I have a show called 10 Lessons Learned. Brett, you've been on it, so you know it. But take a look at that. That is anywhere podcasts are listened to. And we also have a YouTube channel, 10lessonslearned.com. So that's where you can find me. And, 10 lessons, that really shows my philosophy. So if you want to get to know who I am, check that out, because we keep it pretty raw over there. And I hope that maybe some of your viewers and listeners may one day be some guests.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm sad that I didn't even mention that podcast in the introduction earlier, because I enjoy being a guest, but I just think it's a cool concept. 10 Lessons Learned is about life lessons, really, not just business, but life lessons. I enjoyed thinking about it first, and then sharing some things. And you're a wonderful host on that show, and I hope everybody will go check it out. Okay, so 10 Lessons Learned podcast. Go find Diana and connect with her on LinkedIn if you'd like. Moonshotaz.com. We'll have all those references in our show notes. Keep listening. Share this podcast with other seven-figure business owners. We are trying to help as many of you as possible go through this very important and challenging path from 1 to 10 million and beyond. And just appreciate you listening. We'll see you next time on the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast.
You've been listening to the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Brett Gilliland. Be sure to leave a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. You may also want to visit our website, eliteentrepreneurspodcast.com, to find additional resources to grow your business from 7 figures to 10 million and beyond.